Okay, so I am so sorry if you can hear a baby crying in the background, but I just filmed a video. It was like 30 minutes long, lost all of the footage, and I was going to cry a little bit inside, die a little bit inside. So we're doing a very simple video that I've been wanting to do though. Basically, I'm going to be reading some English fairy tales. I picked this book up at the thrift store, and yeah, I haven't actually read any of them, but I thought it'd be fun. I like page sounds. I like English fairy tales. I like whispers, and I like the cozy vibes of like people reading to you and like singing to you to sleep. So look at that illustration. That's really pretty. So, collection by Joseph Jacobs. I do not think I could think of a more basic name. Okay, this is a preface, but don't feel like... Okay. Tom Tit Tot. I also have a pot of tea. Absolutely delicious. So, Tom Tit Tat. I'm at a weird angle, so it's hard for me to like underline the words. Also, you whatever. Okay, once upon a time, there was a woman, and she baked 5 pies. And when they came out of the oven, they were that overbaked. The crusts were too hard to eat. So she says to her daughter, she says, put you thumb their pies on the shelf and leave them there a little bit, and they'll come again. What? She meant, you know, the crust would get soft. Calm. Okay. But the girl, she says to herself, well, if they'll come again, oh my god, I'll eat them now. And she set to work and ate them all, first and last. Well, come supper time, the woman said, go you and get one o' them pies. Their pies. I dare say they've come again now. Why did they hello? Okay. The girl went and she looked, and there was nothing but dishes. So, well, yeah, because you ate them all. Anyways, so back she came and she says, no, they ain't come again. Not one of them, says the mother. Not one of them. Okay, this was everyone just like on drugs in the olden days? Does this story make any sense to anyone else? Like, come again? What are you talking about? You burnt the crust. Well, come again or not come again, said the woman. I'll have one for supper. But you can't if they ain't come, said the girl. But I can, she says. Go you and bring the best of them. Best or worse, says the girl. I've ate 'em all, and you can't have one till that's come again. Well, the woman, she was done, and she took her spinning to the door to spin. And as she span, she sang, my daughter have ate five pies today. My daughter have ate five pies today. The king was coming down the street, and he heard her sing, but what she sang he couldn't hear, so he stopped and said, what was that you're singing, my good woman? The woman was ashamed to let him hear what her daughter had been doing, so she sang instead of that, my daughter has spun five skins today? My daughter has spun five skins today. Stars oh my, said the king. I've never heard tell of anyone that could do that. Then he said, look you here, I want a wife. Okay, geez Louise. I'll marry your daughter. Okay. But you look here, he says. 11 months out of the year she shall have all she likes to eat, and all the gowns she likes to get, and all the company she likes to keep. But the last month of the year she'll have to spin 5 skins, okay? I wish I knew how to pronounce that word. I feel like, okay, well, I digress. And if she don't, I shall kill her. Oh my god, hello, what? Calm down. You are going, first of all, you are going from like 0 to 1 million very quickly. Is that all you want in a wife? To spin 5 skeins every day? Or okay. Well, she thought what a grand marriage that was. And as far as 5 skeins, when that time came, there'd be plenty of ways of getting out of it. And the likest, you'll have forgotten all about it. Well, so they were married. And for 11 months, the girl had all she liked to eat, and all the gowns she liked to get, and all the company she liked to keep. But when the time was getting over, she began to think about the skeins, skeins, and to wonder if he had them in mind. But not one word did he say about him, and she thought he'd wholly forgotten them. However, the last day of the month, he takes her to a room she'd never set eyes on before. There was nothing on it but a spinning wheel and a stool, and he says, "Now, my dear, some flax, and if you haven't spun 5 skeins by midnight, your head will go off." And away he went about his business. Well, she was getting that frightened. She always had been a catless girl, and she didn't do much. She didn't do so much as know how to spin. And what was she to do tomorrow, with no one to come nigh to help her? She sat on the stool in the kitchen and thought. How did she cry? However, all of a sudden she heard a sort of knocking low down on the door. She upped and opened it, and what should she see but a small little black thing with a long tail that looked up at her right curious, and that said, "What are you a-crying for?" "What's that to you?" she says. "Never you mind," that said. "But tell me, what are you crying for?" Oh my god, that is... Okay, no offense, but that is very Akko mode. Why is the tail like wrapped around the arm? That's the creepy part. I'm scared of the tail. And the hands are very long and like crooked. That won't do me no good. Wait. Oh dear. Have I skipped a page? Oh dear, oh dear. Oh no, I didn't. "That won't do me no good if I do," she says. "You don't know that," it says. Twirled that's tail around. "Well," she says, "that won't do no harm, and dividend, and if that don't do no good," she upped and told him about the pies and the skeins and everything. "This is what I'll do," says a little black thing. "I'll come to your window every night and take the flax and bring it spun at night." "What's your pay?" she says. That looked out the corner of its eyes, and that said, "I'll give you 3 guesses every night to guess my name, and if you haven't guessed it by the month's up, you shall be mine." Oh my goodness. So it's Rumpelstiltskin, okay. I figured it was Rumpelstiltskin, because it was giving me Rumpelstiltskin vibes. With the spinning and the trapped in a room and the creepy thing. Well, she thought she'd be sure to guess that's name before the month is up. "All right," she says. "I agree." "All right," that says. And la, how that twirled that's tail. Well, the next day her husband took her into the rooms. And there was the flax. And the day's food. "Now, there's the flax," he says, "and if that ain't spun up this night, off goes your head." And then he went out and locked the door. He hardly gone when there was a knocking at the window. She upped and opened it. And there, sure enough, was a little old thing sitting on the ledge. "Where's the flax?" he says. "Here it be," she says, and she gave it to him. Well, come that evening, a knock came again at the window. She upped and opened it, and there was the little thing with 5 skeins of flax on its arm. "Here it be," he says, and he gave it to her. "Now, what's my name?" he says. "What is that, Bill?" she says. "No, that ain't," he says, and he twirled his tail. "Is that Ned?" she says. No, that ain't, he says, and he twirled his tail. Well, is that Mark? She says. No, that ain't, he says, and he twirled his tail harder, and away he flew. Well, when her husband came and there were 5 skeins ready for him, I see I shan't have to kill you tonight, my dear, he says. Imagine saying that to your wife. Oh my god. You'll have your food and your flax in the morning, he says, and away he goes. Every day the flax and the food were brought, and every day that little black infant used to come mornings and evenings. And all day the girl ate, trying to think of names to say when it came at night. But she never hit on the right one. And as it got towards the end of the month, the infant began to look so oh my goodness, I can't believe it. And that twirled that's tail faster and faster. Ew. Each time she gave him a kiss. At last it came to the last day. At last it came to the last day but one. The impet came at night along with the 5 skins, and that said, What, ain't you got my name yet? Is that Nicodemus? No, that ain't. Is that Sammy? No, it ain't. Well, is that Methuselah? No, that ain't neither, that says. And then that looks at her with the woman's eyes like coal fire, and that says, Woman, there be only tomorrow night, and then you'll be mine. And away it flew. Well, she felt that horrid. However, she heard the king coming along the passage. In he came, and when he sees the 5 skins, he says, my dear, he says, I don't see but what you'll have your skins ready tomorrow night as well. And as I reckon I shan't have to kill you, I'll have supper in here tonight. So they brought supper and another stool for him, and down the 2 sate. Okay. Well, he hadn't eaten but a mouthful or so when he stops and begins to laugh. What is it, she says. Oh, why, he says. I was out hunting today, and I got away to a place in the wood I'd never seen before. There was an old chalk pit, and I heard a kind of sort of hammering. So I got off my hobby and I went to be quiet at the pit, and I looked down. Well, you should have seen what the funniest little black thing I ever set eyes on. And what was it doing? But it had the little spinning wheel, and that was spinning wonderful fast and twirling that's tail, and as it spun it, that sang, Nimmy, nimmy not, my name's Timmy Tit Tot. I wish my middle name was Tit. That would be very funny. Well, when the girl heard this, she felt as though she couldn't have jumped out of her skin for joy, but she didn't say a word. Next day, there was a little thing. Next day, I am struggling with this one sentence. Next day, the little thing looked so... We're skipping that word. That word doesn't exist. When he came for the flags, and when the night came, she heard that knocking against the window panes. She opened the window and came right on the ledge. That was grinning from ear to ear, and that's tail was twirling round so fast. What's my name? That says as I gave her little skins. Is it Solomon? She says, pretending to be afraid. No, that ain't. That says, and that came further into the room. Well, is that Zebedee? She says again. No, that ain't, says the impet. And then that laughed and twirled that's tail till you could hardly see it. Take time, woman, that says. Next guest in your mind. And that scratched out the black hands. And at that stretched out the black hands at her. Well, she backed a step or two, and she pointed at it. And then she laughed out, and she says, pointing her finger at it, Nimmy, nimmy not, your name's Timmy Tit Tot. Well, when that heard her, that gave an awful shriek. Does the king kill her, or is he satisfied? Does he not make her do it? Yeah, so I'm unsure if it's every year or just the 1 year. Hopefully it's just the 1 year, or she will live another 11 months and then she will in fact die, which would be quite sad. Or maybe she would find another Timmy Tit-Tot, Tom Tit-Tot, and save the day. I am very confused about the lesson. I guess it's like, if you have a problem, just play it cool, and eventually a solution will come. And yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed Tom Tit-Tot. I guess it's like a variation of Rumpelstiltskin. Rumpelstiltskin's name is far easier to pronounce than freaking Tom Tit-Tot. Or maybe the lesson was to not sing your name. When that is the key to have somebody be yours. Very, very specific circumstances I feel like you would have to be in for that lesson to be valuable. But if you're ever in a scenario where you gave out your name and the person is trying to guess, don't sing your name, for their husband might hear when they're hunting, and they might tell them over dinner. So yeah,